Iconics fam, welcome back to the Just Three Gents Dynamite review with two gents. Yes, yeah, we meant to do this. Just like Dynamite this week, everything was meant, nothing was scrambled on the fly, nothing done really quickly. I am JVL. That is Mikey. The professor is being a professor and stuck in rehearsal for being a theater professor, so we wish him well on that and wish him well in his recovery on not being able to laugh. You have joined us this evening to go over our thoughts on the most recent Dynamite that was basically yesterday. And Mikey, this was, as is our show tonight, cobbled together off of the back of many mistakes, heat backstage, and trying to further storylines going into a dream match filled pay-per-view that's kind of a Japan centric one, but not really.
No, and do I want to share this breaking news on the air right
Share the
now?
breaking news.
Yeah, I mean, with Wrestle Dream happening, like I was just like, it's an honor to like the legacy of Inoki and New Japan, and I look at this card, I'm like, I'm excited. I think it's gonna be fun, but where is really
Where's Inoki?
where's the only thing that is coming close to a Wrestle Dream match is obviously Bryan versus Zack Sabre Jr. But then I'm also excited for Eddie versus Shibata. But everything else, I was like, I could watch this on Dynamite or Ring of Honor for that matter in certain cases.
In a lot of ways. Yeah, the whole Shibata match also, that's very much the Inoki one right there because Shibata's in that mold of Inoki, that big bruising wrestler. But overall, they're setting up for this big new pay-per-view that is coming out this weekend. Gosh, the time never stops at this point. Like, I'm so surprised that we just are getting nostalgic feelings for the early 80s when there were three pay-per-views a year because now
Man,
it's just nonstop.
literally, especially with the news that we might be getting one AEW pay per view a month. And I'm just like, Lord help us. This is
So that's at least
insane.
two a month we have to review because of WWE. We understand that. But to get to that, we first jump in right away, as should be, to the international title defense. Rey Fenix, who is our newest champion, obviously because of mishaps going on. And if you haven't heard the news, there's been a lot of heat on Rick Knox backstage because this is not the first time that bad things have happened in a match. And he's really having trouble like that. And the talent is very worried about him. So obviously he's not involved with this match again. But it's a Rey Fenix versus the entirety of Jeff Jarrett's cadre of supervillains as they all come out with him, including his wife, who is, very capable at being loud and being sexually, harassed by audience members. It was truly not a memorable match at all. Jeff Jarrett has lost a step. Rey Fenix did the best he could. A lot of shenanigans on the outside, including my favorite thing of the night, which was the flying, not meant flying dick punch that Jay Lethal did to Satnam Singh. And it was it just Jeff Jarrett's lost a step. I feel like it wasn't really good at all.
So what I yeah, this match was okay. And then at the end, I'm like, I swear to God, if Ray hurt himself, I was just like, what is Lord have mercy. I was like, please, not another injury. We literally just saw two of them happen last week in John Moxley and Adam Cole. I'm like, what is happening in AEW? Again, the new pay-per-view curse for AEW is real. Because if we remember from the first Forbidden Door, people were getting sick, hurt, and just outright everything was going wrong.
As our new catchphrase goes, McMahon is in retrograde. So obviously that's going on here as well. It's permeating the entire ether. We also did have, in order to cover for all the badness of this match, the most exciting part of the match, which was Aubrey Edwards renewing her rivalry with Karen Jarrett, which nobody wants.
Except for me.
But does this constitute, Mikey, another women's match or a women's segment on the card? Because otherwise we didn't have that many.
And logically, no, Aubrey and Karen Jarrett should not be the women's segment. But at the same time, I was just like, again, it's Aubrey. Like, I can't really be mad, but yeah. I'm like, Aubrey, stay in retirement, girl. You have the best record of any wrestler in AEW right now.
And
With
you made Fight Forever. You're in the video game. Like you're Earl Hebner level of like there.
literally, that's what I aspire to be. If we could ever make ourselves, if we make it into a video game, I will call that a success for us. But
Very much
again,
so.
this match was okay. Jeff Jarrett's out here doing anything and everything. Literally, this man's is pimping himself out to whatever AEW needs. And I was
But
just like,
he's
getting this
also
check out here.
he's slower than he used to be, and you could see it. Like, he couldn't keep up with Phoenix. Phoenix had to like kind of slow down his move set. I will say the bump Phoenix took on the stroke was really, really hard on the head. Like, that just made me go ugh, because again, another head injury. But it just, I feel bad for the international title. And it really kind of shows that Tony Khan doesn't know what he wants to do with this right now, because apparently the dirt sheets have said the original plan was that Moxley was going to be not attacked, but there was going to be a challenge given after he beat Phoenix by someone for Wrestle Dream, and it was going to be an NJPW staple. But obviously that had to change on the fly. Nothing was done with it, so now they're kind of scrambling to feel what they can do with it. And then they set up a very interesting match later in the night, which is a replay of, this was the night of splitting up tag teams to see how they do as singles wrestlers, and it was very strange.
Oh, we'll talk about that because I have such an issue with the winner of that match, but we'll get to it.
But that was our opening match. The international title was defended and kept. I feel like, Mikey, one thing I would love to see here is if we continue to have people being cursed by this title, Orange Cassidy has to come back to retake it, to be like, no one else can handle this thing but me.
Seriously. I've this sucks for Ray. I hope that he's fine. I hope it's nothing too serious. But man, I was like, oh, his leg is hurt. This is not good.
Luckily, there was no ramp this time for him to hurt himself on, but he still hurt himself anyways. But that was our first match.
Adam Cole will get to you. How the fuck do you explode an ankle?
We're getting to him next, because we had a pre-tape promo of Adam Cole on a dock with MJF on a boat.
I'm on a boat.
It's what it was. It basically is. I love that they were keeping up with this and keeping this kind of thing going with them, and this buddy cop thing with them, which is really great. Throwing to MJF, like thinking about punching him with the ring, and it's like, and then Adam calling him out on it, and then him kind of offhandedly putting like he's committed murder before, or at least that type of thing, because he got caught last time he put a body in the water. Like, what the hell?
Again, I love that the bit that we're still using is this, oh, what the, and then just cut to the next scene before dropping the actual F. We got a wild Paul White.
No, it wasn't Paul White.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
It was a wild Captain Insano.
Captain Insano. I was like, yes, give me him in a lot of these segments. I was like, I forgot you were part of AEW. Not gonna lie.
I mean, dream booking here, not that it'd be the best thing in the world, but right now, because this also sets up that because in their next promo down the line, we learned that Adam Cole just really isn't ready to. Can't defend the titles. They were about to give them up. If MJF goes through what they're setting up, which is later in the night, he says he's going to do a handicap match against their opponents that night to take on them. Could we see a Captain Insano team up with MJF?
God, I actually would be kind of here for it.
I kind of would too. But then we cut from that, which again, we're flying through this because this Dynamite seemed to like chug along. Like it got a couple like dead spaces, but really for the most part, everything was really good. We had a quick video package of Don Callis in Japan with Takeshita searching for Ibushi, or at least teasing that. And then we cut back to something I haven't seen in forever. Renee Paquette in the ring doing an interview. It seemed like Shivani wasn't there on commentary. They were talking about not having Shivani in the booth. I wonder if he's okay. But Renee was taking duties in there. And we had Renee out there introducing the next people coming out. And of course, the brown noise happens. And my bowels were shaking, because obviously that is the brown note that is going to make everyone crap themselves, which is Takeshi's music.
Seriously. AEW, please let Renee do more of the like in the ring, like in front of the. We'll talk about her, because I was like, she didn't have to do much, but I thought she was perfect during our main. So the main segment of this episode later on, I was like, just put Renee on camera. She is
get her
amazing.
on the ramp, do her something like anywhere that's like out in front of the crowd, because the crowd loves her.
Listen, she's 100 times better than Alec Marvez, and the fact that you let this man still do things, I was like, no, I'm not okay with this. But anyways,
yeah. Again,
I love the fact that we have this excursion to Japan. We get this tease before commercial, come back for commercial. Everyone's booing Don Callis out the building, which is deservedly so.
Renee calls that out.
Yep, and I love it. I was like, "Yes, you Renee, you acknowledge the fact that you can't really hear anything right now." And then, of course, Don talks for a bit. Sammy pretty much rehashes everything that he said last week.
Sammy is basically trying to be Dom. He's like playing for the Dom Mysterio playbook, but not as well.
That's what I said, and I forgot to write it down, but he said something. I'm like, didn't Dominic say this not that long ago? Like, this
Kinda,
is
yeah.
getting weird, you guys. I was just like, AEW and WWE are like reusing a lot of stuff from the other shows. I was like, you guys,
I
come
think
on.
someone put it best this week. They were saying that AEW's finally falling into the WWE zone of being more soapy than work rate. They're finally getting to that point, and it's good and bad because yes, it's another skill you can do, and it lengthens your feuds and gets things out there. But at the same time, it kind of, if you're not going to do it as well or better than WWE is going to do, what is the draw? Because unfortunately, WWE has the name recognition and value, which AEW's been around 5 years, but still these people are not as big on the scene for this reason as they would be in WWE.
It's the same thing with match types too. We had the strap match at, you know, between Ricky and Danielson, and then this week NXT had a strap match. So I was just like, I feel like everything's starting to blur together. Just like again, Sammy's promo is also blurring everything together. I was just like,
They're
I know
wasting.
everyone's booing him, but I'm like the minority. I'm like, Sammy, I 100% agree with you. Every time you get a push and then you get thrown back to Chris Jericho, I was like, do not let that go. Keep telling people that.
Which is great, but does he need to get thrown into another stable? This is what I was thinking. Where why are you putting him with more
No,
people?
he
You can
does
have him
not.
go out on his own. And get this, he doesn't need anybody else, and he's saying that within the Don Callis family. Why are you putting him with more people? He doesn't need a mouthpiece. He doesn't need anything
I
else.
don't know. I don't know,
It's
dude.
really ridiculous. And then we cut to a video of what they got up to in Tokyo, where they go to Ibushi's dojo, and basically we have a, like, if you take the Nick Wayne beat down, which was like Swerve going nuts and that kind of like gritty footage, this is the sequel that the studio got their hands on and did too many notes and overbooked and put everywhere else, including the giant kettlebell to the head, which was a brutal hit. But
It
this
was a
was, it's
lot.
like, we did this better with Swerve. This, like, we've seen this, and
They
you didn't
did
do it
do it
well.
better with Swerve. Like, and it I okay, so this is gonna be weird to say, but I also feel like it fit Swerve better.
Yeah,
And,
this is,
and
yeah.
it fit Swerve because of his character and whatnot. This was a little weird for Don Callis to go out of his way to. I was like, Don, why are we here? Like, I would have preferred maybe if Sammy and Takeshita just ambushed Ibushi without Don being there. I was like, Don, I know you're the manager and everything, but you don't really serve a purpose right now.
Or honestly, if you're gonna like stretch this out, attack Ibushi in the dojo quickly, then disappear out of there because like everyone swarms to save him. Then we cut to Ibushi out in on the town buying groceries, attacked in a grocery store. You continuously beat the crap out of him to piss Kenny off. This is just something you did once, and it was, yeah, it was controlled environment, but it was like, why? It's the character doesn't work for it. The character doesn't make any sense. And
Yeah,
him yelling directions to Takeshita in English when Takeshita was already doing it and not really, it fell flat, very flat. It was not good at all. I think Don needs an audience to be better. He's not that good on camera.
no, he's not. Don's incredible in front of a good crowd, but not in like a pre-tape segment. But it's fine. I was just like, okay. I was surprised. I'm like, no Kenny or Jericho. Sure, okay, fine.
Well, they
Like
use that in Collision. Obviously, they, get that there. They can't do it
that's
again. So,
that's right. I have to wait till Saturday to see how that.
but we're gonna transition. This is like, again, the talky part of the show. We got 4 or 5 segments all back to back to back that were
God,
basically
this was such a
talking.
long. This was a long 45 minutes. Wheeler, I love you, but this I love Wheeler Yuta. I really do. I want to preface by saying that, but Jesus, like Sweet Dragoon on a cracker, man. Like, I'm like, are we face? Is that what BCC is right now? Like,
Well, because Ricky is a heel. I mean, but Ricky's also gotten over being a heel. Like, no one is anything in this match. It's all about the pure technique, and I think that's the reason why it's like that. Because
listen, yep.
they can't turn Danielson heel right now because he's got to face Sabre Jr. at Wrestle Dream, which means anyone around Danielson's got to be somewhat facey. And then Ricky, though, has gotten over, so he survived, as he said.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. That was the tamest Texas death match I ever seen. I
Which is
thought it
saying something
was.
for AEW.
Listen, and I thought it was fine, but I was just like, Deanna Parazzo and Mickey James kind of did it better not that long ago. I'm just putting it out there. And that was
I
a
mean,
women's Texas death match, and that was fire.
it didn't like Cody and Dustin did a better job.
God, yeah. I mean, listen, I'm still excited for Ricky versus Wheeler at Wrestle Dream, but this backstage segment after Collision was not it, especially from Wheeler, and that's been my biggest criticism. Wheeler on the mic is not the best thing ever, and I'm so tired of it.
Basically, you need to give him the Steve Blackman treatment where he doesn't say much and he just is intense because he can do intense fine. Also, answer me this: why was Big Bill there? What did he add to it?
Why did we rip him and Lee Moriarty apart? Is my question.
Because Lee Moriarty has got to be with Shane Taylor on ROH.
Which, by the way, I have a gripe with that. So I'm gonna go on a small tangent. Like, where the fuck has Keith Lee been? Like, seriously, we're building toward this feud. I was just like, but it's been very one sided the last like 2-3 weeks. I'm like, where is my big Keith Lee, man? Like, I want that. I want that Luffy fifth gear hoodie that he's been rocking for the last couple of weeks, man.
You'll
It's
get there. But we transitioned
hopefully
from the backstage promo, which had all that not going for it in a very weird way, and also pre-taped from the week before, to we got, I believe this is the first four-way of the night. We got Nick Jackson versus one of the Guns, if I'm not right. I've written this down and I can't really see this right here.
okay. Hold up, that was later in the night.
That was later. That was the other Jackson. Yeah. So this is Nick Jackson versus Brian Cage
versus Claudio. Boot. Next caller. Next.
I will give the surprise Hurricane Rana into the pin as a fun moment. My thing from this was Nick Jackson was basically bumping all over for these guys, and I kind of just wanted Brian Cage versus Claudio. That's all I wanted.
That's what I want to. And then I was just like, this match was fine. It was fine.
But it's set up that Nick Jackson will now be the next contender for the international title against Phoenix at Wrestle Dream. It's going to be flippy dippy. It's getting back. Apparently, they were selling the whole thing of like, or is it on? Is it going to be on Dynamite? I can't remember.
I'm checking my sources. Hang on.
Either way, it's setting up a rematch for the first time these two went together about a year ago or so, one-on-one after their big cage match, and it's been done. And I don't know what they're going to get out of it that's going to be any different than this. It would have been more fun to see Brian Cage go for it or to see Claudio go for it. Claudio needing to get into a title picture because that's what he chases. But no.
According to my sources, it is for Dynamite next week.
Good. They're not going to waste it on Wrestle Dream. Either way, doesn't matter to me. It's not a match I'm looking forward to, which is sad because it's the international title. I've been enjoying the international title.
I have too, but I'm just like, sure. Okay, Nick, fine. Whatever. That's cool, I guess.
So yes, this was a typical Young Bucks match with only one of them in there and then two other big meaty men slapping each other. But it was a TV match. It's all it was. It was fine.
It was fine.
Yes.
It was fine. Okay, but I wanted really quickly. So after this, I actually really dug this promo, like this vignette from the Righteous. I was like, okay,
really?
I'm kind of here for this.
Really?
Again, I am a nerd. I am a gigantic nerd. It is no secret here to the Biconics wrestling audience. Into nerd comics, video games, wrestling, all the accoutrements that come with it. And again, I am a big fan of Far Cry 5, especially. Listen, Far Cry 5 is so fun, especially because you had 3 individual big bads that you had to take out, and Vincent and Dutch of the Righteous fit that one particular cult boss that you had to take out throughout the game. And that's why I'm here for it a little bit. And also Vincent's theme kind of slaps in a weird way.
Yes, I will say the theme is it's reminiscent of early Bray Wyatt, but it is definitely very much a slap. I will give the same critique I gave to the Righteous on ROH. They could have something, and they're getting closer. The pre-taped help with this. They are two disparate points of view and two different cult leaders smashed together on a team, which when they talk is so dissonant that it doesn't make sense to me. It's as if they're both trying to start different ways to end the world, but for some reason they thought, let's stand next to each other and say it at the same time so nobody understands whatever plan we're talking about. In the pre-tape, they had him set up enough and like separate, and you had an editor and a director there going, no, Dutch, shut up. We need to have this person over here actually talk. Please be quiet. That doesn't happen live, and it hasn't happened in every one of their other promos they've had, Stu Grayson aside, anything else. I mean, you and I have talked about this. The three of them, when they're in a promo, is the worst thing in the world.
Bro,
So
it's like
I
they're
was
they're not
surprised.
on the same page. They're not on the same building. I don't even think they're in the same state of mind.
They're on the same they're on different sets of drugs. They've all went to different dens and did different things. This was tamed because it was pre-taped. I'm reserving judgment because if I hear them talk again live and it's as bad as it was before, I can't get behind this. That's why maybe it's my bias coming into the promo. I couldn't get behind it because I know how terrible their promos are, and this will lead to nothing. Plus, I think there's also a little PTSD of this sounds like 2000 or like late 20 teens Bray Wyatt, which went nowhere because WWE squandered it. This could be squandered again. Don't know.
Maybe, but I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. I'm spoiled because it's the only indie person that watches Impact Wrestling. Vincent, I feel like, thrived better over there, especially when he was the creator of PCO, which was a weird rabbit hole that went down, but I thought it
Which
worked
could
really,
be
really
coming
well.
back to bite them in the ass later because PCO's done now. So
yeah, his contract ends up in October. I was
how
just
that man
like,
is still walking, I have no idea.
God.
But we move on from the Righteous pre-tape, which was quick and easy, and Far Cry. I will agree, Far Cry 5-ish. Why we didn't just sit there and wait for the time period to elapse and then just leave, I have no idea. But then we get the live promo from MJF and Adam Cole,
God,
and
this
you
was a
see the
long segment.
extent. Well, it's long enough because Adam had to hobble to the ring. Apparently, Britt Baker put out pictures of what he did to himself, and it's disgusting. He destroyed his ankle. And I come back to, if that had been an equal height ramp, he would have been able to judge the distance and the speed better. He had more speed behind it and landed too far over the knee over the ankle and just boom. So Adam Cole, we wish you a speedy recovery. We hope that it's easy on you and the surgery doesn't go too bad and you come back stronger and better. But this has been 2 injuries in the span of a year that have truly put some stuff on ice for you.
I would like to mourn the death of Better Than You, Bebe, for the rest of 2023.
I don't know. I feel like once he gets the surgery done, he can be around still doing stuff. He might not be able to help out, but he can like be that back and forth and continue the storyline that's going on, which also, by the way, past everything else going on, we know Tony Khan or someone in his booking committee is listening to this podcast. Because did I not call what needed to happen next after the medical bed to get him down, get Roddy Strong down to the ring?
You
did I not call? Did I not?
You did. Now where are the residual checks, Tony?
Something in this economy, I would love to have a little bit of money from the booking committee.
Give us like 10 free t-shirts.
This promo, though, was basically continuing what they had talked about on the boat, talking about how the boat went, which is just fun for them to keep coming back to, and Adam Cole explaining what actually he did to himself, which was blow his basically explode his ankle in 3 places, tear a bunch of ligaments and his MCL, and he's going to be off TV for a while. He's got to get surgery done. He can't avoid it. That's why he had to be in a chair, which also I love the symbolism of MJF getting a folding chair to bring in for him to sit down. Why they didn't just like show the whole thing of him almost hitting it with it before putting it down. You had the perfect thing there. But they describe how disgusting it is, how bad it's going to be. And Adam Cole says they're going to have to relinquish their titles. And our scumbag, who's definitely drank all the Kool-Aid, says, no, I'm going to defend them in a handicap match against the Righteous because you got me to wrestle twice in one night. I know what these mean to you, and you're my bro. My heart.
See, that was my first thought. And then the logical Mikey took over for the rest of this promo. I'm like, and then the nihilistic Mikey even popped in for a quick second, and that was very
like
scary.
The one that dresses in like black turtlenecks and like fully goth emo makeup and like wears a wig that goes over one face and life is crap. Nothing is worthwhile.
Oh, like do just perfectly over the bang, do the flip and everything.
But it's just a piece you put on the front of your forehead. It's never anything back here. It's just the front.
So, okay. So, you know how I'm just going to come right out and say it.
Say it.
So while I have enjoyed MJF and Adam Cole and the buddy cop moments that we've got, I know you and Professor have loved it to death, and so have I. However, Nihilistic Mikey came in. I'm like, oh, they're going to let MJF keep holding these titles until Adam Cole comes back, aren't they? And as I am going to, I'm actually going to bring this up. Our newest member, Andrew, is a big fan of tag team wrestling. And, he said this on, the Impact review that we had last week. Tag team titles need to be defended, and it's really hard when you're going to have one person of the tag team defend both of those titles in handicap matches, which I think will be fun for now. But I'm like, oh, MJF is okay, so we're not getting new tag team titles for ROH anytime soon, are we? Like, they're not coming back to ROH until Adam Cole comes back, and I'm not gonna lie, that kind of makes me sad and
It
pisses
is.
me off just a tiny bit.
I agree. I had to go into my creative hat to think of a way around this, that I'm putting this out in the world so that Tony Khan's booking committee pulls it from me and does it next week, because this is how we get things done. Come along with me, Mikey, to my fantasy booking of this. We get the Captain Insano cameo for one night. Paul White, MJF, they defend it, they defeat the Righteous. Everything's down there. Roderick Strong and Adam Cole come out to congratulate MJF because they're doing their that way. And what Adam says is that Roddy and he talked. And he feels like in order to allow Max to focus on Jay White and all these other things, they would loan the belts to a tag team to defend it for them. The Kingdom get to be the champions until Adam's healed up and they can get their belts and take their belts back. These are on loan. So the Kingdom are now the agents of it. MJF doesn't trust this, not at all, doesn't trust Roddy, but Adam convinces him. We get the belts onto the Kingdom defend them. They're buddy until Adam starts to get somewhat healthy, and then you realize, like, oh, we're not giving these back. We got these from you. You gave them to us. And then we go from there. We build that feud for the end of the year.
I love it. There's only one problem with it.
Sure.
If it makes sense, probably
We're
not going to happen.
do it.
That's the only thing I have. And okay, so I don't have an issue with it. It's just currently right now, it's just like, I guess I can forgive it, though the writer in me just like twitches an eyeball with how we're booking the Kingdom. I'm like, how the fuck are we still fighting with best friends? Like, that's literally what is happening this weekend.
And that's the best thing, is that you can set that up with MJF going, why are we giving it to them? They're battling like C-rate teams. They're not championship material. They haven't shown anything for this. And Adam's like, Roddy and I talked about it. And as friends do for friends are. And people help each other, Max. And so you can make them be that low-level team. Like, why would we ever give that to them? And the Kingdom go on a run. And they continue to kill every team, ROH, AEW. And you set it up as they beat FTR or whoever the champions at the time, not in a title match, but like champion versus champion.
It's literally bragging rights.
Right. And MJF starts to take, or Adam Cole starts to say, oh yeah, we did that because those are our titles. This can be done. This can work.
See, I am, you know what? The roles have been reversed, because normally I'm all sunshine and rainbows here on on most of these podcasts, and then everybody else is just like, we've been like the emo phase. It's like, we've been here long enough. But the roles have been reversed.
Mikey, when you start going to Nihilistic Mikey, you have to go like this. Oh, Nihilistic Mikey.
I don't like being Nihilistic Mikey, but Nihilistic Mikey kind of popped his head in when I was watching this segment. And I'm just like, oh, see, if this is the route we want to go with, like, I would be so on board with it and I will eat crow. But somebody who's passionate of Ring of Honor is just like, oh, okay, that's fine. I guess it's equivalent exchange, because at least we got the title off of Claudio and onto Eddie. But in exchange, we had to give up the Ring of Honor tag team titles.
And I have to ask you about that, because do you think Eddie's retaining at Wrestle Dream? Because this is my thought, was if it was one of the belts on the line,
stay tuned for predictions afterwards.
Exactly. But I'm saying with one of the belts on the line, Shibata's winning. With both of the belts on the line, they can't take that away from Eddie yet, can they?
Well, well.
Well,
We'll save it for
well.
predictions, but we're gonna put a pin in that and come back to it when we do predictions.
I'm just trying to give us a breathing room in here because we didn't have any in this promo. Between this promo,
Jeez
then we have
Louise.
Ronnie and the Kingdom come out. They drag Adam off, and MJF's okay with it because he's learned that other people can have friends, even though we don't think so.
JVL, this was like a
Then we go to the
25-minute segment combined.
Yeah.
I was like, there was no bathroom break, no commercial break, no nothing.
Yeah, you put picture in picture in the matches. We can't do it here because we want to hear all these great words.
So out comes Jay White and the rest of Bullet Club Gold, aka the Bang Bang Gang.
Was Juice Robinson with him? I didn't see him.
Yes, the Honeycomb Monster was there. So were the Guns, and then Cardboard Switch as well.
With Switch.
Listen, that is the most genius idea I have seen in recent memory. In the last couple of weeks, I love the cardboard cutout. It's hilarious.
Will MJF defend the titles with Cardboard Switch?
Listen, if Speedball Mike Bailey can defend a title against a blow-up doll in Japan, then anything is possible at this point.
I saw a room recently where a guy had a match with a steel chair. It was really, really cool.
I love it so much. And see, this is where my mood started to go on an upward trajectory. I was like, okay, I like this.
Nihilistic Mikey went away.
Well, Nihilistic Mikey went back to hide in his room to write awful poetry.
The world is black.
About how Ring of Honor is dying. And it's just like, everything is so not okay. And how Ring of Honor is being treated as the NXT version for AEW, and that's not okay.
Yeah.
But
we're back here. Jay White got him a piece of MJF, and MJF didn't falter as bad as he faltered with Joe. I was actually surprised.
Okay, but so I'm bracing myself, knock on wood. The pitchforks are going to come out. I'm going to critique MJF just a tiny bit here.
Are you going to die on this hill? Is this one of the things you're dying on the hill for?
No, my soul's already dead with the fact that Ring of Honor tag team titles are not going to be on ROH until then. So my soul's already dead.
Good. No soul to lose. Anyways, so critique MJF.
I have nothing to lose at this point. So I've been watching AEW since its inception, that it started airing on TV on a week-to-week basis.
You don't say.
And so the point being is that again, as a writer, I'm starting to pick up on certain key phrases and bits and jabs that MJF is starting to recycle a bit. I was just like, sir, I know that those are your go-tos and this is what we've been using, but you need to evolve and expand the vocabulary and your insults.
Why? Those are his catchphrases.
Yeah, but then if that's all he ever is, he becomes John Cena 2.0, where he's nothing but a gimmick and some catchphrases.
And he makes a ton of money and can get in the Hall of Fame and is one of the biggest drawers in the entire industry. Like, I'm not saying it's right, but I'm not saying, why would you go against it if you could be remembered as the biggest name in the industry?
I just want some small character progression in terms of how we deliver promos. Granted, this is only the 4th year that AEW has been around, but you need to evolve because it's gonna get stale eventually. And for me personally, it's starting to get there. And again, I also felt like, granted that this was MJF's moments, I was like, damn, you have Jay White in the ring. And granted, they let him talk the second half of this promo, but I feel like, Maxwell, I feel like you were given a little too much time, because there was just certain things I'm like, you could have ended right there. We didn't need the extra 5 minutes of what. And then Jay just went in. I was just like, you know what, Jay? This is the Jay that I love. And I agree with our comrade Luis. I was just like, finally, get Jay to do something in the big spotlight. And I mean, technically he did with that ass whooping he got at the end of the show, which we'll talk about, because I have some theories.
Was that him?
No, it's not MJF. That's obviously not. I think I have an idea who it is.
Okay.
We'll get to it at the end, but Max starts comparing him and Jay White to food and tofu, which I thought was an interesting choice.
Hey, he gets that over every week, and they chant like Waffle House, other than they chant it.
And again, I'm still okay with it, but I was like, Max, this is kind of getting stale. This is like the 3rd time we've used it within the last couple of weeks. Let's start spacing these out.
Meh.
You're wrong.
It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you, and I understand that.
again, the writer in me is upset. The wrestling fan who tunes the writer out sometimes is still enjoying MJF. But as a writer, I was just like, this is kind of getting stale. It's like trying to write a story and you use the same sentence in just different formats within the same like 5 or 6 pages within a chapter.
Yeah, I've never dealt with that in most things that I've gone through before in first or second drafts at all. Never.
Totally. But again, I still enjoyed the MJF promo. I just hope for the future that we start to expand. And then, of course, Jay White, I'm like, finally, you let this man speak one-on-one with MJF without the rest of the Bang Bang Gang. And I was just like, this is the Switchblade because I love Bullet Club Gold leader Jay White, who's just hilarious and is just a troll. But this is the New Japan Switchblade that started to pop through to tiny bursts. I just need a little more from you, Jay.
Was given some time to because the rest of Bang Bang Gang is so damn loud that he can't talk over them. So it's like, I'm glad he got the time to do it himself. Yep. I'm excited about this match.
Me too.
Wholeheartedly. I cannot wait to see where this is going. I feel like this should be the first in a couple matches where it shouldn't just be one. There should be something going on behind the scenes, like Dusty finish, other things, so you can get multiple matches out of this. But we'll see what happens.
God, this is great. I love it. And then at this point, I don't know about you, but I was watching it and I was just like, Autobots roll out? Like, what is happening with the audio at this point? Because this was very apparent during this Christian Cage and Darby Allin, like, poor Jim Ross. I love you, Jim, but
I'm surprised he can get set on fire.
Seriously. But I was just like, I was like, Christian Cage, are you a Decepticon? Like, what is happening?
See, it wasn't as bad on the Fight TV feed. I actually watched the Fight TV feed, and those problems were not there. You could understand everything Christian was saying. Everything was fine. I heard every bit of this.
Shout out to Fight TV. Like, we need to invest in you more.
We really do, and like get our VPNs to show you that we're in Britain or something, so we can get the better feed. Because also the commentary during Picture in Picture was hysterical. All of them missing Tony Schiavone, all of them like talking like back and forth about a 2-person booth. Taz and Excalibur saying like, it's really weird to have like time to breathe and think and not be like overwhelmed by somebody at the desk with me. It was really fun.
Damn. But yeah,
Christian Cage's came out, about dead family members at this point now because dead uncles, dead fathers, all that stuff.
Darby like went full throttle for me. I was like, sir, that was very aggressive with wiping off the face paint. I liked it a tiny bit, but I was like, that was some overacting, just a tiny bit.
I enjoyed also that Darby didn't forget to like he did not put on the staying powder and the finishing stuff to keep it on there. He left it as grease paint to come off nice and easy. So good job on Darby remembering to do your makeup correctly. And Jim Ross, I mean, you were there. I feel like Renee would have been funnier in that respect.
Just let Renee do all these types of things, honestly, because Homegirl has had a history with being in interviews and stuff like that, as we saw in the main event. But we'll talk about that. I'm excited for this 2 out of 3 falls. I love that Christian brings up the fact, it's just like, Darby, you just do spot after spot after spot. And I'm like, yo, Christian Cage, you're reading my mind, because this is the same critique I have for Darby, because I want him to have a long career. And I love that. And I hope what happens is that Darby has to tap into, give me the shades of when he and MJF wrestled, because that was just wrestling, where they went back and forth with each other, and that was wrestling, not spot fest, not hardcore matches, not everything. I was like, I'm excited to see this 2 out of 3 falls.
I want to see Darby play Christian's game.
Yes.
As well as Christian, and that makes Nick Wayne worry about him a bit. Because now he sees how dark Darby can go and how much of a heel Darby can be, and Christian gets to laugh about like, I'm literally dragging your hero and your mentor down into my level, and this is where we sit, and you've been basically tying yourself to basically me. Come join the dark side.
The potential for this,
and then Edge shows up.
that would be. I would literally lose my shit, but I feel like this 2 out of 3 falls match has the potential to be one of my favorites if it's done correctly. Like, again, I know everybody's talking about like your usual suspects like Kenny and Coda and all that, which is great. But there are 2 matches on this card I feel like are not getting talked about in terms of that level to me, and we'll talk about it in predictions. But this one, and then the other one, I think is not getting the love that it should, but I'm excited for it. So yeah, that was a fun segment.
It was. And then we transitioned to a really good match.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
This 4-way was much more enjoyable than the 3-way for the international, titled,
I love watching I love watching people get mad about Canadian Destroyer City.
I loved that this one, especially as I was arguing with some people that I know about this, like, oh, yeah, it's another one of those spots. But I was like, no, it's not. Not everyone did them. You had the comedy spot of Austin Gunn basically getting like back body drop multiple times trying to pull one off, and the continuously, it wasn't just bang, 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 bang. It was wonderful.
They weren't out during this match. I'm just kidding.
They were for 2 seconds, but then of course also I love the taunt off we had, which started with Penta and Austin Gunn, and then we got we got everybody in this. We had Matt Jackson didn't do one against him, but I think it was Orange Cassidy and Penta had a little bit of an off there, and it was really fun.
I always get a cheap pop when Penta does his little slow dance to the round. I was just like, oh God, Penta, I love you so much.
Playing for time, very fun, but then we had picture in picture at the same time. But this was a fun 4-person match. Matt Jackson didn't need to be there.
He really didn't, honestly.
The only reason he was is because we had that 4-way match at Wrestle Dream coming up. So it's like they wanted to have each person from one of the teams in the match to be able to do it. And of course, their other people weren't out there, so we didn't have everybody walking around the ring, which is great to just have a 4-way match, which worked really well, was well put together, and honestly, the right person won.
I agree. I'm like, Orange Cassidy won, which means to tell me, I was like, what kind of booking lounge are we going to? Because I'm pulling hardcore for Orange Hook to like.
You know who I want to win this? The Guns.
Low-key,
they will be insufferable if they win.
Listen, if Tony Khan can pay for the rights to get their hard entrance music like they did in New York, would have been great. Again, they might look like the Spot as Spider-Man villains in their entrance with their gear. But God, that entrance is still one of my favorites of this year.
Well, and they're pulling from everything in their back catalog. Like Austin Gunn did the road dog punches during his thing. Like, yeah, like I because he did left hand jabs and then right hand around. It was really, really cool.
So, okay. So I want to take a moment because Julia Hart, your entrance, my God.
Oh, we're already off this match. Great. Can I say one more about the match before? The triple pin with Matt Jackson was the only other spot I loved.
That was really great.
That was cool. But we get to my match of the night next.
Oh my God, me too. This was mine.
The only women's match on the card. It became the main event because the main event was a contract signing that didn't need to be anywhere at the end of the show. I don't know why they had it at the end of the show.
I want Julia Hart's hat like really bad.
It lights up.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I want it. I was like, I don't know who did it. Also, like in my weird, like dark, twisted mindset too. I love the fact that I was like, oh, dark Papa Brody King is out here like walking his wrestling daughter to the ring. And what we know from outside of how close they are, because Brody King and his wife are Julia's on the road like parents. I'm like, my little heart. I was like, oh. They look like they're having so much fun.
They really are. And apparently she and Lexi from ROH are also like best friends. I caught Julia's vlog from London. I was like, wow, it's just her and Lexi all over the place.
Oh my gosh. Like Lexi, I love you, Lexi. We'll talk about you more on Ring of Honor. I love you so much.
But so Julia Hart and Big Daddy Brody King come on out there. And then we have Willow Nightingale keeping kayfabe. And I love they're doing the black mist on the eye and like it's corrupting people. I want to see it corrupt more people and have them like Willow went like not evil but intense on this one. It was really cool to see her do that.
Such toned down colors for her too. I was like, this is how we subtly tell a story.
Well, and then she's doing the Brody King taunts and almost did the cannonball. I was like, yes, female Brody King, like yes.
If we ever,
I want to see Willow finally turning on people and like going dark on AEW because having to figure out a way to get rid of the corruption in her soul. She
needs to cleanse it by beating the snot out of people. Literally, like therapy. Julia is 27-0, so I was like, yes.
I was wondering how they were going to pull this off with it too, because they did call it the whole thing of her putting on the submission too close to the ropes and like putting Willow into position to get out of it. And there were a couple slow moments and Julia's still working on it. The front round off into the pounce was really rough, but also cool. But both of them told a really great story, and Julia didn't give up on it, and she's really improved in the time she's done it, and she has nowhere to go but up. Like, I'm very excited for her.
I loved it. And I agree with what you said. I love seeing this more like possessed Willow in the sense like she's hitting harder, she's being more aggressive, doing the Brody King taunts like you said. I'm just like, yes, this is what I want to see.
But
I was like,
she's also not thinking through her matches. Like, Julia outsmarted her in a couple places,
yep.
and like seeing the smaller wrestlers slow things down, like keeping Willow on the mat, even though there's a power advantage. This was great. This was interesting storytelling where she's basically Julia was keeping calm and Willow was overly angry and couldn't keep her head about herself. So well put together. My match of the night, Brody King standing there trying to start something with both Willow and then start something with Statlander who came down for the save. Like this, I think honestly, this Julia Hart Statlander match is going to be better than we think it is.
That's one of when we talk about predictions, that's actually one of the matches I'm most anticipating. Like honestly, I was just
Yeah.
like, yes, it has two of my favorites right now, and I'm excited about this. Okay.
Can I say something here before we jump to the end of this night?
Totally.
The accountability corner has been gone for a couple weeks, but I had an epiphany, Tony. This isn't accountability as much. You've heard my rants on this. Why do you think Jade left? Why do you think Jade went to WWE? For the exact reason we saw tonight. You have one women's match that's barely the penultimate match, no women's promos, and a bunch of stuff that was fluff that ran on way too long that didn't even really set up the matches you had already set up. Jade was your first real homegrown talent that you paid for, trained, got to work with the best in the business, and had what's coming up. Yes, still a bit rough, but she was an AEW star. And yes, there sometimes isn't loyalty and people are doing it just for the money. But from what Jade said in her interview and buried AEW, not the performers, but the back office and the people in charge, should give you pause. Because if you can lose Jade to WWE, you can lose the rest of the division to other places. Also bringing up the fact of the reports about Serena Deeb and how she was upset about her match times getting cut and being underused and being cut short in what she wanted to do. And so therefore is being punished and has heat backstage for speaking up for herself and being difficult to work with, as some upper level AEW people say. This is upsetting and undeniably wrong. The reckoning is happening and you're losing control of it, and the rest of your roster can't save your product. Fix this now. Get some balls and actually book your women. And this is saying something because you can do it on ROH, but for some reason you don't trust on regular TV for women to carry your matches. Set the bar high, try something new, and do better than just saying you're going to buy NJPW or take on more debt. Because you've already lost one of your stars. And a lot of the other women's stars aren't happy to be there. And I'm not happy watching it. Do better. That's all I have to say.
Agreed, my friend. And I'll just finish it off with this. I'm like, I don't detect no lies when Big Swole was speaking out about this before she left. So I'm just saying, and everyone was on her about it, and now everyone's suddenly agreeing with her. I was just like, I mean,
it was one voice, and I, not to disrespect Swole, but it was one voice of a person who didn't fit in with the clique of women that were there, and therefore that was against what was going on.
mm-hmm.
Whereas now, this is someone that they had sunk a bunch of money into. It wasn't an indie darling that had come up. And it's not, I mean, Serena Deeb is in the same category as Swole. Serena Deeb's been blowing this horn for months and not years that something was wrong. It took a mistake being as big as Jade Cargill going away for people to realize this was right, because no one could believe that Tony Khan wasn't giving everyone an option. It's terrible. And we've been saying it for months, and we've been saying it for long before that. But this is, I was hoping we'd get through this pay-per-view set before with All In and All Out, and there would be some change. And the change has been more promos. It hasn't been anything to do with booking women better.
I know.
It's a downer. After a really good match and a match that should have closed the night out, that's a downer to think about. But we get to a very interestingly acted piece and a full-on contract signing for Swerve versus Hangman at Wrestle Dream. Hangman sounded like he was reading off a script. He had some good points, but honestly, it was like, this was rehearsed and you hit the points you needed to. Swerve started on script, then deviated like Swerve does, which is great. Negating the fact that it's anything to do with Hangman and more just about the spot. But the intensity got there. And I'm interested to see how this match turns out, but this didn't need to close the night out. That's my take.
Mm-hmm.
What do
I
you
agree
think,
with
Mikey?
you. Yeah, I agree with you that it didn't need to close out. I feel like you could have done this before the match and honestly just swap the women's match and the contract signing for this. I think would have been fine. So I'm biased because I'm a big Swerve fan. I've always been a big Swerve fan, not just now or Swerve being in NXT and even when he was Killshot and Lucha Underground. Like, I've been a big fan of Swerve since he popped up onto the independent scene years ago. And I'm biased as hell, but I'm excited. I'm really excited for this match only because in my little head, I don't want to make it about race because from a cultural and like a POC, a bi POC perspective, I'm like, I need Swerve to win this one. Swerve has to win this one. I mean, he mentioned it during his promo. It's literally going to be in Swerve's house because Washington is his home state.
Right.
And so,
And
but just
Adam Page doesn't need this win.
he doesn't. And I feel like Swerve should be put over because I'm ready for Swerve to have the rocket strapped on him and to continue to be. In my opinion, Swerve has done everything and he has elevated everything that he's been a part of so far in AEW. I loved when he was a tag team with Keith Lee. I loved that even though the build was a quick turnaround, I was invested in the coffin match at all in like because Swerve being there. Swerve is just so charismatic and he is one of my favorite in-ring performers for AEW has right now. Again, I still cite his match against Darby like a month or two ago, just on a random episode of Dynamite, and the two of them killed it. Like it was so good.
Yeah, wholeheartedly.
I need Swerve to win here because I'm like, you can't have Swerve go out there. And I 100% agree with him. If he was in Hangman's spot, he would be the first black AEW world champion. I'm like, you know what, Swerve? How come we haven't had a bi POC champion in AEW? We've been going for 4 years.
We've had two, but they were both women's champions. You got Thunder Rosa, you get Jade Cargill.
Yes.
Men's titles, TNT. No, not really. I mean, like Miro's not. It really hasn't been that much. Cody is definitely not. No, I mean, there hasn't been the men's titles. The closest we've had is Phoenix being the international title holder.
That is
and the
very
tag
true.
titles.
Again, in my opinion, I think Swerve definitely owned this.
Oh yeah, this was his promo.
This was his promo. And I popped a little bit when he mentioned kill shot. I'm like, yes. I was like, yes, acknowledge it. But yeah, man, I need Swerve to win this one because if he doesn't win, I think I'm gonna say some crazy shit right now.
Say it now.
I need Swerve to win because the implications if Swerve doesn't win, I was like, once again, a talent of color doesn't get put over. And again, I have a different perspective because we all have different perspectives here at the Biconics, and I love all 9 of us because we bring something different. But for me personally, as somebody who watches this product on a week-to-week basis, as a person of color in America watching Western wrestling television, I need some due diligence here. I need Swerve to win in this one. If you want to have Hangman win the second one, cool. But for as much as of a momentum that Swerve has built for himself within the last couple weeks, building into this match
by losing.
And again, Swerve, I feel like, has done everything and anything to elevate everything that he's done in AEW so far. I think Swerve deserves, not like deserves in all capitals, underline it, bold print that shit. He deserves to win this match. And if he doesn't win, and I'm not blaming Hangman in this fall, but Tony Khan, we're going to have some words. Because easily. I was just like, that is a slap in the face to Swerve. That is a slap in the face to, the big fan base that's behind him. And then to be petty for a hot minute, it is a slap in the face to me as a person of color who is giving my time to watch this. And one of the few champions and big characters you have that is a person of color, he needs to win here.
100%. That is where we need to be. And Mikey, thank you for saying it like that. So with that, we cut backstage to an attack against MJF by a demon hooded man.
Yeah, Jay White gets his ass beat here.
Yes, Jay White gets his ass beat by a demon headed man, but it's not MJF. We know it's not MJF.
No, listen. I'm like, we're not dumb. I have a guess as to who it is.
Who do you think it is?
Now, again, Detective Hat goes on real quick. Honestly, my number one choice right now, and I'm okay to admit if it's not, but I think this is actually La Facción Ingobernables is actually attacking because again, Andrade has beef right now with the whole Bang Bang game because they got involved in this match with Jay last week on Collision. So I think it's Andrade and the rest of the crew. And it's just framing MJF because it's easy to frame MJF. Like, it's easy.
Could it be Roosh then?
I also think that Roosh could have gone rogue, but then I'm like, there are 4 people beating up Jay White. So I'm like, what are some 4? So I immediately went to Andrade and crew. But if Andrade is not part of it, I mean, I could see Jose, Roosh, Draglistico, and Preston Vance doing this on their own. And Andrade's like, oh, what the hell, you guys? I didn't tell you to do this.
Yeah. Which then sets up Andrade to go for the title.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that too. I like that idea. I can't say for sure who I thought it was. I thought it could be Dark Order a little bit, but it may not be. But this was
their 4th member.
They could have gotten Stu. I mean, Stu's been happy with them lately
because that's very true.
The thing, Stu could be with them.
And I don't mean to shame Dark Order, but I was just like, that's not Dark Order. I was just like, they're all too tall. I love you, John Silver.
Old Dark Order.
That's old Dark Order. I'm just like, John Silver, I love you, but you tiny as hell. There's no way you were there. And again, Evil Uno, if you haven't checked out his TikTok videos yet, they are fucking hilarious.
His wrestling, I want to go to one of those matches, one of those things there.
Somebody put Nyla Rose on commentary, like, for reals.
Do
a wiener roll. Do a wiener roll.
So you've got to come over here because I think it's up in Montreal is where that Fed is. And you've got to come here and we got to go see it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to start saving money. We're going road trip.
Oh, you don't want to drive that long. Take a flight. Anyhow, we have come to another AEW Dynamite, and we have to review it and give our thoughts. Mikey, what scale are you using this evening? How hungry are you? And what did you think?
I'm going to use the empanada scale out of 5. I give this a solid 2.5. No, not even. 2.2 empanadas out of 5. Again, I felt like the first half, like, really chugged along.
Yes, it was going.
It was really slow. And it was just there. And then, again, I already said my little gripes with MJF, how I want him to evolve a little bit in terms of promos. But from Jay White and MJF's interaction onward to the second half of the show, it really did pick up for me. but not enough for me to break it to a solid 3. I think it was honestly, this is probably the better go home show between the last 3 pay-per-views we've had for AEW, if I'm being completely honest. Yeah, solid like 2.3, 2.4 empanadas out of 5. It was serviceable, but nothing too exciting.
I will agree with you on the empanada scale. It was a 2.5. Yeah, it was a meh episode. It's going soapier. And now we take off not 1 point to 1.5, 1.5 points for no promo, just one women's match. This was a 1 out of 5 because of what Tony Khan's been doing with his women's division. And I have a feeling we're going to get a couple of point something to 0 out of 5 empanadas in the next couple weeks if things don't change. I'm really getting sick and tired of this.
It's annoying as fuck.
It is. But that's our review for Dynamite. Are we doing predictions on this video or are we doing predictions somewhere else?
No, we're going to do predictions here because who knows if I will be the only person doing Collision and Rampage this weekend. No shade.
Sounds good. So folks, if you are don't want to hear our predictions until later on, or we can do it as something else, thank you for tuning into our Dynamite review.
If you got to go, that's okay.
That's okay. And we're going to stay here for anything else. We love you at being our friends in wrestling. And remember that, as I'll say at the other part of this, you're Biconic, we're Biconic, and we love sharing this with you. All right, Mikey, let's do our predictions for Wrestle Dream.
Okay. So there are 10 whole matches, and that's not counting what we're about to get probably for 0 hour 2.
My God, yeah.
Lord have mercy. Tony, we got to stop having like 10 plus matches on a card. Like, it's okay.
What is this, ROH?
But see, even ROH doesn't book this many matches. That's crazy.
The 13 show night we watched? Oh, they do.
I mean, on the weekly television show, yes, but pay-per-view wise, they don't book that many matches on the pay-per-views.
Do it on the TV ones. Anyway, so yes. What we have.
So, okay, I'm looking at the Wikipedia. I'm going to go from the bottom of the list to the top because
you give the match, we'll predict.
Yeah. So, first up, Ricky Starks versus Wheeler Yuta.
Oh, Starks is clobbering Yuta in this one.
Oh, Ricky needs to win this one. If there's no reason for Wheeler to win, so I'm picking Rick. If Ricky doesn't win, then I'm gonna have so many questions.
Ricky's gonna make Yuta tap. Yuta's not gonna pass out. He's not gonna let him pass out, and he's gonna make him tap.
Gosh, that would be such a great thing to watch. Ricky needs to win. Wheeler can take a loss here. He's fine. He's literally BCC's punching bag. It's okay.
As he said in his own promo. Anyhow, moving on.
Okay, so a fatal 4-way for a number 1 contendership opportunity for the for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. We have the Young Bucks versus the Guns versus the Lucha Brothers versus to be determined tag team name later of Orange Cassidy and Hook. This one's tough. Obviously, I don't think the Bucks are winning this one. Absolutely not. And if they do, I'm gonna actually scream.
They shouldn't win it at all.
They shouldn't. I don't think I'm kind of taking my Lucha Brothers out of this too. I'm actually going to pick the Guns to win.
That was my pick. We talked about this.
But then again, you have Orange Cassidy and Hook, and I was just like, if Danhausen pops his little head up somewhere, I will lose my mind.
I'll be very happy if that happens, but I don't think that neither Hook nor Orange Cassidy need a shot at the titles. Get the tag team in there.
All right. So
you've seen the Guns work well with FTR. They'd be a good match.
I'm going to pick the Guns only because I'm looking at this lineup. I'm like, the Guns are technically the only kind of mostly heels that we have in this. I was like, okay, so maybe they are going to win.
Exactly. I think that I'm going with that as well.
Okay. It's a crime that this is the only women's match that we have. I'm like,
on such a long show.
Yes. But honestly, I'm hyped for this match. Chris Statlander defending her TBS championship against the heartbreaker herself, Julia Hart.
What do you think, Mikey?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Obviously, Chris is my girl. I love her to death. Her popping up in Miro's like Funhouse match that he had with Orange Cassidy, where she popped out of the animal claw machine, was fantastic. I'm gonna go wild with this one. I think Julia takes the title.
Interesting.
I think Julia takes the title. Again, I can also see Chris being the one to deliver Julia her first loss. I don't know. Something Brody is an an unknown element of how this can go, and because of that uncertainty, I'm gonna go crazy with this one. I'm gonna pick Julia to be your new TBS champion.
Great pick. Great pick. I'm going to disagree. Much as Julia would love to keep the undefeated streak alive and all that things going with it, and has definitely earned that spot, I don't think it's time for Chris to drop the belt. I don't think she has done what she needs to do with it. And after the whole thing with Jade giving her the rub as she on the way out, Statlander retains. I'm saying Statlander retains.
Now, I'm not gonna be upset if we get more matches between these two. Like, I am okay with that. I'm hyped for this match. I'm fine either way. I'm just going crazy with Julia here. Okay, this is like my hardest match. Eddie versus Katsuyori Shibata for both the both the ROH and the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship. That's the only thing that I'm having issue with. I was like, they wouldn't possibly give both titles to Shibata. And then I look at Shibata, I'm like, wait a minute though. This one's really, really tough. If it was just for the Ring of Honor title, I would pick Shibata.
Or
But
just for the NJPW Strong title.
if it was just for one of the two titles, I would pick Shibata. But because it's for both, I think I feel like Eddie kind of has to retain here. So I'm going to go with Eddie. But this is tough.
My thing with this is that I don't think they would give Shibata the ROH title without taking the pure title off of him first. Mm-hmm. They have had matches back and forth with both champions, but that would be to unify the belt. Why would you do that? At this point, I feel like Josh Woods would wrestle Shibata to get him to take the title off of him, just to be able to do it. Now, there's another part of me that says this is supposedly a tribute to Inoki, and who's the most Inoki person on the card?
Shibata.
It's Shibata. So, do we pull the trigger and then Shibata's a triple champion? I think it's too early for Eddie to lose those titles. Eddie needs a good run and to be able to celebrate that before being sent back to do whatever he needs to do. I think that Eddie's winning this one. I don't think they can pull the trigger and put all three on Shibata at this point.
No, and I think Shibata will eventually be Ring of Honor champion. I just don't think that Eddie should be the one to give that title to Shibata. And
not right now.
He loses. But
not right now.
I'm fucking stoked for this match. God,
I'm
so excited.
Next match.
Okay, this is my dark horse because I think this match is going to slap if it's done right. Christian Cage versus Darby Allin for the TNT Championship in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Ooh, okay, so Luchasaurus is the unknown element here. I think Christian's retaining, but I can also see if Darby wins. I do think it's going to be 1-1, and then it will be decided in the final fall.
Well, it's going to be decided in the final fall no matter what, because that will be it. But I also agree Christian Cage is going to retain 2-0.
You think Darby's not going to get a win? Oh,
I don't think Darby's going to be allowed to get
a
pin or a submission or anything else. It's not going to happen for him, and it's going to
scandalo.
Exactly. And I feel like Nick Wayne is going to cost him it.
Ooh, see, Nick is also an unknown here because I was like, he's been weird the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. Between his pure rule match with Shibata and everything else, yes. That was better than any right to be. Anyhow.
It really was. Again, this is my dark horse match. I think this is, if it's done right, this might be my favorite.
Mine's the women's match as a dark horse is going to be amazing.
That too. So next up, in a 6-man tag, I'm just saying, I'm replacing the Golden Elite because I'm like, gross. Let's call it what it really is. Chris Jericho and the Golden Lovers, I don't care what anyone says, versus the Don
Golden Ocho.
God. I've already said how my distaste for Chris Jericho at the state of his career, but you know. So Chris Jericho and the Golden Lovers versus the Don Callis family, which is represented by Konosuke Takeshita, Sammy Guevara, and my homeboy, Will Ospreay. I'm picking the Callis family to win. I want Kenny to continue to lose until he snaps.
I also picked Don Callis family to win. Takeshita pins Kenny again.
Yes, that's what I picked. That's literally that's in my notes too. I was just like, let Kenny go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs here.
But this is after they get Ibushi like beat the crap out of and like unable to help him.
Yeah. Okay, so these next four is where it gets interesting. So next for the 2-on-1 handicap match for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships, MJF will be defending those titles by himself against the Righteous, which is Vincent and Dutch. MJF is retaining here. I would be shocked and floored and gooped if MJF loses the titles, but I think he's retaining here. There's no way you pull these off of him.
MJF retains as well. I agree. Either with a Captain Insano cameo or Kyle O'Reilly appears.
Oh my gosh, Kyle would be nuts.
Not to be his partner, but to
Right.
save Max
Yep.
on behalf of Adam Cole.
Literally, he's the hitman.
Yep, exactly.
I swear to God, if Tony Khan does not give this next match time, I will not be okay with it because on paper, this should be fucking amazing. FTR versus Aussie Open for the AEW World Tag Team Championships.
Breathe, Mikey, breathe.
The potential is there. I just don't want to be disappointed, but I still have yet to figure out. I mean, okay, I'm leaning more towards FTR retaining, but I'm like, Tony Khan, if you want to apologize to the way that you have treated Aussie Open, they should win this match. Because realistically, I love FTR, but I think Aussie Open has such an avenue to bring something different to the tag team division. Unfortunately, you have Dax and Cash are like Tony Khan's homeboys. I'm gonna go with FTR retaining, but I would really love to see Aussie Open win here. I'm excited for this match, though. I want them to beat the piss out of each other.
I think Aussie Open has definitely earned this title shot. They have done so much to keep the company up and do the job for folks that needed to get it done, dropping their titles to Adam Cole and MJF, taking care of that, and they've showcased that they can have bangers with anybody.
Absolutely.
Coming into today, I would have said yes. FTR is retaining. They just, it's the way it's built and everything else, and they're trying to keep things good. But I feel like I'm want to be contrarian on this one and just give it all and go a mile. And I think Aussie Open are going to upset the world and get the titles.
God, again, I even in defeat, I'll be like, yes, my boys have won this title. I feel like I'm on an island by myself with some of my friends. I was like, how do you not like Aussie Open? I know that they're new to AEW, but I was just like, listen, they are amazing. Okay. Again, this goes to what I talked about, but Hangman Page versus Swerve.
Swerve wins.
Swerve better fucking win. Otherwise, Tony Khan and I are gonna have some words. I will literally invade this. I will invade this podcast next week and just rant.
Yeah. I have nothing else to say on the matter. Swerve wins. That's all that should happen. All that will happen.
Literally, you're literally in Swerve's house. Don't fuck this up, Tony. Swerve needs to win. Seriously. Because every other person in this fucking match outside of Shibata and the Lucha Brothers, and I don't want to assume Ricky's nationality and race, but I was just like, I'm gonna say he's one of the peoples with me. We can't be having all white dudes and white people win this match. I'm just saying, Swerve better fucking win, Tony. Otherwise, I will rant for 10 whole minutes next week.
Right.
Okay, so then I need a moment. I swear to God, if you find a way to fuck this up, I will never forgive AEW ever in my life. And this will literally be a big black permanent mark on their record. But God damn it. Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. Jesus fucking Christ.
This will be match of the night, or it will not work. But I think it'll be match of the night.
So I have a crazy prediction. I'm gonna pick Zack to win over here. I don't know, man. This one's tough. Like, I could see Danielson winning. I think I would love for Zack to win here, only because I'm like, can you imagine the fucking momentum this kid will get by beating Danielson? But I also feel like since Danielson's not really ready, he has at least a year left. I don't think he's going out like this. And I'm like, I still agree that Zack should be the one to retire him when it comes to retirement. So but I'm going nuts with this one. I'm picking Zach for this one. Jeez, please let this match be great.
I'm going Danielson on this one. I don't think it's the right. This would be an amazing one to do it at, but I don't think it's the right place they want to do it at. I think that you want to get Brian over to NJPW and have his retirement match against Zach there, where Zach wins. But I think this one, Danielson ends up winning, but it is a lot closer than we think it is, and both of them are battered and bruised by the end of it.
I love Zach. Also,
I do
as a
too.
side, I love Zach. Also, as a side note, at Queen Quest 3, Will versus Zach for that United States, or sorry, the UK title now, as Will has now completely changed. It's freaking hilarious.
I love it.
God, that match is gonna be great. I'm really excited for Wrestle Dream. I think on
Yeah.
paper, while the thread of in honor of Inoki is kind of slim, minus Shibata, everything else just feels like just dynamite people being put on this thing. And this is what I brought up earlier. I'm like, if you really wanted to do a Inoki tribute, you should have gotten more. Again, people are like, well, we don't want a Forbidden Door like 2 times a year. I'm like, I do. I
Yeah.
was like, listen, if we're getting Will Ospreay versus Speedball Mike Bailey and Impact, and then it broke before we started. The news broke before we went on air with this review. If Impact is able to get fucking Kenta to be a part of Bound for Glory in some manner or form, I'm like, how the fuck AEW did you not secure anybody else from Japan to come to this thing? Impact Wrestling has Kenta, and that
Mhm.
shit is going to be fire. I don't care who he fights; it's going to be great.
So you want Forbidden Door and Forbidden Backdoor. Got
I mean, sure. Or at least it's like, if you were going to promote Wrestle Dream, let's not use the memory of Inoki as the like selling point. Cause I'm like, this is the most AEW nod to Inoki. Outside of Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. and Eddie versus Shibata, everything else is just a typical Wednesday, Friday, or Saturday night. Take your pick on when these matches happen.
I agree. Like this is going to be an amazing pay-per-view, and it could have been so much better. But let's give it that first year thing where they feel it out, they do what they
Oh,
need to do, and next time is
I'm
going to be even
fucking
better.
pumped. This actually looks like a really good card.
It does. It really does. All right, Mikey, that's our predictions. Let's hope they go down and do like we think.
I mean, regardless of which way they decide, is the group chat is going to be one of my favorite things the next 2 days.
Nice. It is going to be amazing. Well, Biconics fans, we have enjoyed going through Dynamite and our predictions with you. You can find us on all the socials at BC WrestlePod, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook now, where we have a Facebook page. We are, we're old and we're new at the same time. But in general, we just want you to interact with our stuff. Please like the videos, share the videos, sign up for notifications, subscribe to the channel, get in contact with us, and let us know anything at all. We all have opinions. We know you have opinions. We'd love to discuss them with you and talk about this art form that we love, which is wrestling. You can find myself at the JV Lexicon. You can find Mikey at Pop Culture Geek. And honestly, just remember always, you're biconic. We all are biconic because we share a love of this weird and fun art form together, and we love sharing it with you. We'll see you in the next video.